Americans are having problems at the pump. Since Operation Epic Fury began in February, the national gas price is up 52%. Today, the national average spiking to $4.55 a gallon. That's up 25 cents from last week.
The Trump administration has already pulled a few levers to get short-term gas prices down, including tapping into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, waiving the Jones Act, and alleviating some sanctions. The White House adamant that this pain at the pump is a short-term blip.
So when President Trump looked at the trade-offs of going into Iran right now, he knew his sort of beautiful record of just constantly pushing down energy prices, gasoline headline prices as well. We're going through short-term dislocation. We'll get through it well, but we're going through short-term dislocation to fix a 47-year existential problem.
Joining us now is National Energy Dominance Council Executive Director Jarrod Agen. Jarrod, it's great to have you. When I look at how President Trump laid the groundwork for this before he went into Iran, first, as president, he said, we're going to drill, baby, drill, and we increased the supply in that way. Then we had the operation in Venezuela, and then he went into Iran. I'm looking at this and saying, if we are close to the end of this conflict and gas is $4.55, under Joe Biden, it was at $5 because of his reckless spending and inflation and because he wasn't drilling. So we're not even at the peak of where Joe Biden was. And this could be over all in a matter of days or weeks.
Well, you're absolutely right. If you look at what happened under Joe Biden based on his own policies, and out of control energy restrictions, that's what was driving up oil and gas prices under Biden. What I would say is do not underestimate President Trump. If you had asked the prognosticators months ago what would have happened if the Strait of Hormuz was restricted in this way, they would have told you a barrel of oil was $200, $300 a barrel. Look at it now, in the 90s. And so President Trump, the reason that is happening is President Trump has used all the levers like you're talking about to help production here in the U.S. and to keep prices manageable. And as you know, once the Strait opens, the prices are going to start to come down. So you mentioned some of it. SPR, Jones Act waiver. He announced the first refinery in 50 years is coming to the Gulf of America in Brownsville, Texas. Refining is more needed in the United States than ever before because we have so much crude. The state of Texas and the Permian is hitting record levels of production. And so we're going to ramp up refining. And as you noted, all the other things, this is a global issue where Venezuela, I was just in Venezuela, I just came back. We're getting Venezuela crude coming up into the U.S. We're refining that. We're opening up Alaska. The president has made moves to open up the NPRA. We're waiving some of these crazy EPA waiver or regulations in the past, and Lee Zeldin's doing a great job to waive those. The president has used the Defense Production Act to open up offshore drilling in California. California gets its oil from foreign sources, and that's crazy under Gavin Newsom. The president is making the move, so now California can produce its own oil and refine its own oil. All of these things are moves the president is making that no president has had the guts to do before, but he's doing them all so that prices are going to remain as low as possible. And then once the Strait opens up, you're going to start to see everything come down even more.
You know, Jarrod, I can't argue with the thing you said. I mean, you guys got your foot on the gas in terms of drill, baby, drill. The problem you have is, I guess, more of a political problem. And it's maybe a good problem to have. But expectations were so high for President Trump. You know, finally we had a president who cared about fossil fuels, who cared about gas prices. He was going to get them way down. And so I do agree that what you've done has blunted the increase in oil prices and gas prices. But, you know, it's not like that Trump level of gas prices. So I guess my question is, can you get there fast enough and definitively enough that the American people will say, aha, the president made good on what he said he would deliver to us?
Well, I think absolutely. And again, I would say do not underestimate President Trump. Look at what he did with Venezuela. Look at what's happening at Trump speed in Venezuela. I was just down there. He had a meeting here just a couple of months ago where he had all the big energy and oil and gas majors sitting in the White House, independents, the big companies like Chevron and Exxon, and he told them all, Venezuela, the biggest oil reserve on the planet, you got to go down there and invest. And look at what is happening just a couple months later. Exxon has now changed course. They're sending people down there. They're very interested. Chevron is hitting record levels out of Venezuela. You've got a lot of independents, the wildcatters. We were just down there. We signed 3 big deals with independents to open up production in Venezuela. You've got a bunch of gas companies that are moving down and getting natural gas out of there. So everything is moving at Trump speed. It's going exactly as the president predicted. And so I would say do not underestimate the president and his power to bring prices down. He's already done it once. He did it last year. We have full expectation the president can do it again. He knows how to do it. And by opening up things like Venezuela, he's going to do the exact same thing up in Alaska. We're making moves. And so Texas is rocking right now.
Yeah.
We are at the highest crude export in history. Now we're opening up Venezuela and Alaska, and you're going to see the same kind of production in those areas.
And Jarrod, I mean, I'll take it a step further and say, if I had to guess what the president's thinking, you saw the UAE fall out of OPEC. OPEC is slowly becoming less and less relevant now because we are the leader in energy globally. And honestly, we'll be setting the price.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're hitting the right point. The president has completely changed the landscape when it comes to energy around the world. And guess who's everybody's looking for right now? They're coming to America. The Asian markets want to get oil and gas out of America. They're looking at Alaska and they're looking at the Gulf of America to fill the supply they haven't gotten. Europe is calling us. The European ambassadors are calling me. They're saying, hey, can we get more natural gas supply? Can you get LNG out of the U.S. over to Europe? So all of these countries are now looking to the U.S., and now we are the biggest exporter of crude. We're the biggest exporter of gas. That's just going to continue. The U.S. is what is going to fill the gap. That is great for Americans, and it's great for our allies all around the world.
It is fascinating. Great work. Jarrod Agen, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.